G'day. So this video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about Australia in this video. So it's going to be more of an educational video. You're going to learn some things maybe that you don't already know about Australia, or maybe you do already know about them. However, these are some facts that I find interesting, and some of them aren't necessarily facts. They may just be like animals or places or certain things in Australia that you would either know about or not know about. We'll start off with a few of them, okay? So number one is snakes. We do actually have a lot of venomous snakes in the world. I think we have the most amount of venomous snakes. However, we also have a lot of non-venomous snakes too. And I think they say we have 13 of the world's most venomous snakes. That is true, but we also have a lot more than 13 venomous snakes in Australia. So just the brown snakes, I'll put a little fact on the screen how many brown snakes we actually have in Australia, just so you know. Okay, so you probably already know about snakes, so that's not too much of a surprise there. However, next we have spiders. Obviously not so much a surprise here, right? What people don't know about spiders is we only have one deadly type of spider in Australia. So there's only really one type of spider that could really kill you, okay? Now, there is some exceptions here. There is a redback spider, which people have actually died from them. However, I'm gonna say the deaths were a little bit more gray area, okay? Because we don't actually know if the bites got infected and they died from an infection, or if they had an allergic reaction to the bite. However, a redback spider, the venom alone probably won't kill you. It's not strong enough to really kill you unless you are allergic or the bite does get infected or anything. So the same with like wolf spiders. We do have wolf spiders, and I would not really say they're deadly, but they can give you quite a nasty bite and you can get infected with it. So the only real deadly spider you have in Australia is the Sydney funnel web. Now, Australia does actually have a few different types of funnel web spiders, but the Sydney funnel web is really the only one that's really deadly. So New South Wales kind of area where Sydney is, that's pretty much where you'll find it. I don't think you'll find it in other states. I may be wrong, I haven't really fact checked that, but Sydney funnel web, I'm pretty sure that's the one you gotta watch out for, because that's got the deadly venom. Don't be scared about spiders in Australia. We do actually have a lot. But with that said, we do actually have a huntsman spider, which is not a threat to humans, but it is, I'm pretty sure, the largest spider in terms of length and all that. The huntsman spider can grow to the largest size, not the heaviest weight, but total length is the huntsman spider, which we do actually have in Australia. And we have a whole bunch of huntsman spiders as well. Plenty of different species of huntsman spiders, so just if you didn't know, now you know. So next we have jellyfish, okay? So we have quite a few different types of jellyfish. These you're only really gonna encounter in water.
Which also make for fantastic hats. What a nice day, you know, what a beautiful sunny day to be out in the sun.
What we do have is a box jellyfish, which can be deadly, can give you a nasty sting. And we do have the blue bottle jellyfish. And I think we got irukandji. I'm not 100% sure if we have irukandji. I'll fact check this. So, next, emus. Now, we do have plenty of emus in Australia. They do run around everywhere, and there is a lot of them. So much so they are considered a pest, and we did actually have a war against emus to try and cull their numbers down, and we actually lost this war. So this is called the Great Emu War in Australia. It's part of Australian history. Everyone knows that we lost the war against birds, so that's kind of a shame, but a funny story. So emus, besides running fast, they do actually have claws, like quite large claws. They could kick you and they could injure you. However, an emu isn't too much of a threat. It's generally going to run away when it sees you.
Emus along the fence line. And I can get close to them. They're a little bit suspicious. But what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to leave this costume down along the fence line. What I'll do is I'll run down along the other side of the fence. Try and flush through those one or two emus that were down there. I'll quickly come back around, I'll put this on, and then I'll see if I can get one on the fence line. Because they're letting me get close, but not close enough.
But cassowaries, on the other hand, cassowaries will attack you. An emu is more likely to run away than attack you, but a cassowary will try to actually attack you. That will be the next one, is a cassowary. Just recently in the news, a man just passed away from a cassowary attack. Unfortunately, it's very sad, but yes, they are very dangerous and they can kill you. So what else do we have? We have tropical diseases. So not many people know, but Australia is a very large country. We don't have one season in Australia, okay? Well, we don't have our one climate, I should say, in Australia. We have multiple different climates in Australia. So the top half of Australia in Queensland, we have tropical climate. And then the lower it gets is like subtropical and then temperate. So the lower you go, then you start to get into like the 4 seasons. Like most of Australia has 4 seasons, but the tropical part, that's your tropical weather where it's like either wet season or dry season, wet or dry. So tropical, you also get tropical diseases because it's a tropical area. What you get is tropical diseases, but then you also have cyclones, like the weather, like you have a lot of cyclones and all the tropical type of weather that comes your way. So unfortunately, that is something that the northern part of Australia does deal with. So next we have tropical storms. So that will come along with the weather. Tropical storms are part of it. And it is actually quite interesting if you watch like storm chasers. We have Australian storm chasers and they post really cool pictures all the time. So I would recommend checking some of those out. Next, we'll go into some more aquatic type of stuff, some sea life and some more dangerous animals. Striped surgeonfish. Striped surgeonfish, I'm pretty sure, are a venomous type of fish. They have spikes on their back or spines. And these spines can actually inject you with a venom, so they are considered venomous. You don't want to actually get stung by a striped surgeonfish. Next, we have snapping turtles in Australia. If you didn't know that, I think we do actually have one species of snapping turtle, which is called the white throat snapping turtle. So as you know, snapping turtles can actually be dangerous because they do snap. It's not going to be as dangerous as your American type of like the alligator snapping turtles. But yes, we do have turtles in Australia and we do have, I think, one species of snapping turtle. So sharks. Sharks get a bad reputation for being aggressive animals or so dangerous, but they shouldn't be feared. They're not as dangerous as people say they are. Sharks are more misunderstood, but as with all wild animals, they can be dangerous, right? So what you want to watch out for is obviously certain times of the year when they may be more aggressive, like if they're feeding, if they're reproducing, like mating, if they've got like babies. But generally, the attacks are mistaken identities. A shark is only really going to think you're food, or it's going to attack you in defense, like the defensive attack. Okay, so some other stuff. We have 2 types of birds in Australia that people are scared of the most. And no, it's not a cassowary or an emu, but it is actually called a magpie and a spur-winged plover. So magpies and spur-winged plovers are 2 types of birds that during certain seasons of the year while they're mating, they will actually try to attack you and swoop you. So if you walk past their nest or you walk past an area where there's these birds, they will try to swoop down and attack you until you're like completely going out the area. And these birds have been notoriously known for so many attacks every year. People have just kind of got a massive fear against them. And it's almost like just a funny thing to do now. Is like little kids will like just try and like see how close they can get to a magpie's nest without getting attacked. In all seriousness, people have died from these attacks. Out of the 2, magpies and spur-winged plovers, I would say magpies are the more dangerous one, just because they're bigger and they have larger beaks. But a spur-winged plover will swoop lower to the ground because they nest on the ground, these spur-winged plovers. So they're a little bit more aggressive and they will swoop lower to attack you. So that's something to keep in mind. These birds are very aggressive birds during mating season, but when it's not mating season, you have no reason to fear them. Magpies are lovely birds, I love them, and I don't think they deserve to be feared at all. I think people just need to learn how to defend themselves against magpie attacks. So just by covering the head and all this stuff, there is a certain way you can actually cover your head to protect yourself from an attack. Next, along the topic of birds, we have wedge-tailed eagles, which I think are the largest type of eagle. I think that may be true, but we have wedge-tailed eagles here, and they do actually attack farm animals, so like little sheep. They swoop down and they steal people's sheep off their farms. And these are gigantic birds, and they are giant claws on them. You just see them everywhere out in the country, out in the bush. Wedge-tailed eagles everywhere, and they are a lovely looking bird. They are a type of eagle. Most of the time, they're out in the country area. And while they can be a threat to humans, they could actually swoop you and injure you quite bad. Your animals, you gotta watch out for more. So if you have pets like cats or dogs, then you should watch out for wedge-tailed eagles the most, because they will actually steal your animals and probably kill them. Next, you probably know we have scorpions. I'm not an expert on scorpions or many animals in particular. Well, I'll say all scorpions are venomous. I know that. I know every single scorpion is venomous, but I don't know what is significantly deadly to a human. But I know we have quite a few different venomous scorpions in Australia. None of them are really as large as other countries though. So our scorpions don't get really that big here, but we do have some venomous ones. Okay, so we don't have porcupines here. We have an Australian version called an echidna. So these are relatively harmless animals that really can't really do anything to you, except they're covered in spikes. So the only way they can really hurt you is if you try to pick them up and they're covered in spikes. However, if you are walking barefoot in the country, the outback, and you happen to be barefoot, which is obviously not a good idea, but you'll see a lot of YouTubers and people do walk barefoot out back, like Miller Wilson, Ricky Mack, Andrew Eucles. You watch these guys' videos and they're just running through the outback barefoot. So these guys, fearless, but you can stand on an echidna because they do bury in the ground, and you may not see them buried in the ground. They might just be sticking out the ground a little bit with their spikes up, and then you come along and stand on them and it's gonna give you a nasty wound in your foot. So be careful of that. What else we also have is some dangerous plants here. We have something called a gimpy stinging plant or stinging tree. This gimpy stinging tree, obviously like the name says, it's found in a region called Gympie, and this has like fiberglass like hairs on them, and they act as like hypodermic needles. So if you were to look through a microscope, you would see there's fiberglass like hairs with a hypodermic needle type tip. So when you actually get pricked by them, they inject this toxin into you, and it causes quite a lot of pain. It's been known as the most painful stinging plant there is in the world. And I think the nickname is suicide plant because of some old rumors and stories that say if you get stung, I think there was some rumor or myth of some soldier killing himself after he got stung by one, or he used a leaf as toilet paper to wipe his bum, and then he was in so much pain he killed himself. These rumors, I can't really confirm if they're true. I think they're just old wives' tales, but the plant is very painful, and yeah, it probably won't make you commit suicide, and it probably won't kill you, but it's going to be very painful, and it is worse than a nettle. Speaking of nettles, we do have stinging nettles in Australia too, so I think they are introduced species here. But we have nettles, and yes, nettles hurt if you touch them. What else we also have is sea lions and seals. Most people wouldn't really be that scared, but they can attack people. They're like basically a wild dog out in the ocean with bigger teeth with stronger bite force on them. So a seal and a sea lion, they can actually crush skulls with their jaws, their bite force. While they may look cute and while they don't really have arms, they like kind of flap around like.
Alright, officially. Holy shit!
A seal is quite a dangerous animal. Keep that in mind. You're probably never really going to encounter a sea lion. It's usually going to be either at the water or they'll come onto shore where there's rocks and stuff. They'll come to shore and just kind of sunbathe. But generally, you're not going to go up to a sea lion unless you're like filming a documentary, or unless you're curious enough and you're brave enough to kind of go up to one, which I'm pretty sure it is illegal anyway. You cannot actually go up to a sea lion and pat it, because that is actually illegal. We have giant lizards and reptiles here. So besides like giant python species, we also have giant lizards like goannas. So a goanna is just the Aboriginal name for a lizard called parenti. So here we have parenti lizards, which are the largest species of lizard we actually have in Australia. But besides the parenti, we do have a bunch of other monitor lizards here that can get quite large. And yes, they can give you a very painful bite. They can actually have giant claws in them, which can cut you open. And if you do get scratched by a parenti or a goanna, you will need stitches and you will need to get the wound cleaned, because they can give you like really bad infections. There's things like Komodo dragons. Komodo dragons actually have a venom in their saliva. I don't think parentis have this, but you still don't want to get bitten by one, okay? So keep that in mind. We have giant rats. Yes, some of the rats are introduced, but we have native species of rats here too. Giant ones. So if you don't like rodents or rats, stay away from the giant rats. Well, you can't really stay away from them, but unfortunately you can't kill the native ones either, because they are important to the environment, and you just have to learn to love wildlife, even if it is a giant rat. So what we also have is wasps. We also have a lot of wasps. We have tarantula hawk wasps. We have a bunch of introduced wasps. We have paper wasps. Some of them are actually quite painful, but most countries have wasps. So that's not going to be that unique to Australia. Our wasps aren't as amazing as other countries, but the wasps here do actually predate, or whatever that word is. They hunt spiders. So we have some wasps here that actually hunt spiders. They lay their eggs inside the spiders for something called an ovipositor. So they'll paralyze the spider, lay its eggs. The spider will be paralyzed. They'll drag the spider into their burrows, because they do bury underground. And then the spider will get eaten alive from the larvae of the wasps. So wasps, yes, they can give you painful stings, but they do actually take care of some of the spiders. So would you rather a wasp or a spider? I know what I would prefer. I would prefer spiders, because the spiders actually take care of mosquitoes and all these other insects too. So some spiders even eat other spiders. So it's more beneficial to have spiders. And some wasps do compete with our native bee species, and that is quite sad, because we want to protect the native bees, and I'm more of a bee guy than a wasp guy. We have bush ticks, which are parasites that basically they suck the blood out of animals, and some of our ticks here are like paralysis ticks, which actually paralyze animals. So they inject toxins into animals, which can paralyze them. Ticks are a huge problem here, and you always got to check native wildlife for ticks, but also make sure that that native animal doesn't give your pets or anything ticks as well. So what do we also have? We also have mosquitoes, a lot of mosquitoes here, which I'm sure every country has mosquitoes. But yeah, we get a lot of rain sometimes, especially in Victoria. It's always raining, quite wet here. And we do actually get heaps of mosquitoes, so not that unique to Australia, you probably already know that. What we also have is sandflies though. So sandflies are another like flying, biting insect. So sandflies, they're like the worst version of mosquitoes. Even though they don't carry as many diseases, a sandfly bite is definitely going to be more irritating than a mosquito bite, and will give you like a little nasty sore on you. If you get bitten by a sandfly, you will get like a little sore on you that can be way more irritating than a mosquito. The sandflies are generally at the beach kind of area, so if you're at the beach, you may want to spray something on your skin, like some kind of insect repellent to repel from the sandflies. Kangaroos. Kangaroos, you may have seen some videos of these huge muscular kangaroos, and these kangaroos, obviously, besides getting gigantic and muscular, they can actually attack you with their feet. But kangaroos, they don't just use their feet to attack, they also grab you, like they literally try and choke you. But generally, this is more like a control method, because in the wild, what a kangaroo would do, a kangaroo, if it sees some water, it'll go into like a lake or a creek where there's water, and then it will stand on its back legs with its tail up. They'll wait for the animal to come into the water, and then they'll grab it, they'll hold it underwater, and they'll drown it. So a kangaroo, very, very dangerous animals, but very smart animals. They will drown animals in water. And if you have a dog, keep your dog far away from a kangaroo, because a kangaroo will easily kill a dog. Next, electric stingrays. We have these types of stingrays, which are like electric eels. They actually do have electric shocks, and they can shock you. The shock is nowhere near as bad as an electric eel, but yes, it can actually shock you, and it will be painful. So not many people think of stingrays as being electric. Most people think of a stingray as like having a stinger, but our types of rays can be electric and can shock you. More fish stuff, we have toadfish, toxic type of fish. They puff up, have spikes on them. You can't eat them because they're poisonous. They kill heaps of animals. They are kind of a pest. Toadfish, everywhere here, if you go to a beach, you always see toadfish washed up on shore. Everywhere, they're toxic, they're just nasty animals. They kill a lot of wildlife. Blue ring octopus. So a lot of people see these octopuses or octopi. They hide under rocks in rock pools along the beach generally, but they're also very, very venomous and toxic. They can actually kill you. Stay away from it, don't touch it. If you see any blue animals here, blue is generally a very, very bad sign, okay? So like a blue ringed octopus or a blue bottle jellyfish, stay away from them. They can actually kill you. Okay, so apart from that, there are some more cute animals we have here. We have a lot of penguins in Australia. Australia is quite low on the earth, like quite close to Antarctica. Maybe like a long time ago, there was like land connected to Australia and Tasmania, and like Victoria, Tasmania, and then even lower than that, there was some like islands around there. We have a lot of penguins around the lower half of Australia. It's quite cold. The penguins do generally come up to the beach, and you do actually get a lot of penguins, and they are very cute. You can actually see the penguins if you are a traveller. You can come see our penguins and all that. Next, more along the lines of beach and stuff. At the beach, you gotta watch out for cone shells, because cone shells, some people like to pick up shells and collect shells and all this. What they don't know is we have a type of animal called a cone shell, which I think it is a mollusk, but it shoots out like a dart. It can actually literally projectile shoot a dart out. This toxin is like one of the most toxic venoms in the world. Oh, yeah, one of the most potent venoms in the world. That's how bad it is. So this is, even though it's a little cone shell, one of the most dangerous animals in the entire world. You do not want to get stung by this. So we also have stonefish. Another thing, very, very bad venom. People generally stand on them because they are camouflaged. Stonefish, also in the rock pools and stuff, looks just like a stone. You will stand on it, get stung. Very painful, but it can actually be life-threatening too. You do not want to get stung by stonefish. So what people don't know is we have platypus. Platypus was believed to be a mythical animal, like a cross between a duck and some other animal, I don't know. But then someone discovered a real platypus and realized they were real, and then later along the line they found out they were actually venomous too. So a platypus actually has these spurs behind its legs. I think they do actually use, like in attacks and stuff, attacking other animals, but platypus are actually venomous, and they are actually considered a marsupial, I think, or a monotreme. So I think they call them monotreme. It's the only mammal, I believe, that does lay eggs. Don't fact check me on this, but I think that's what a monotreme is. And they have spurs. They are venomous as well. Okay. So besides that, we have gigantic centipedes. And these centipedes, obviously, besides being very venomous, scary as hell, giant as hell, you don't want them crawling all over you, but they can crawl on you, they can bite you, and they're just creepy. No one really likes centipedes. We have them everywhere. Okay, so next, there is a place in Australia called Nimbin. Nimbin is kind of like the stoner capital of Australia, where all the stoners go. It's like a town that all these stoners moved to so they could just smoke weed and kind of get high without the police kind of interrupting them. And then the police kind of started ruining that whole area, and now Nimbin's not as good as it used to be really. But Nimbin, they have weed festivals every year. I believe it's called the Mardi Gras. That's grass, not gras. And this is a festival for weed where it's held once a year, and then it's just a festival to celebrate weed. In this whole town, they even have something called the Bong Olympics.
Nice healthy try to start with. Thank you very much. And that's our champion, Chuck.
But it's just known to be the stoner capital of Australia. So in Nimbin, Australia, you have stoners, everything weed related there. There's a lot of shops that sell kind of like weed related stuff. I don't believe it's illegal stuff. I believe it's just like kind of weed themed stuff.